The other day, I was talking to a gentleman through my day job, and we got on the topic of everything within health and fitness. And I was trying to help him problem solve his issue, see how he can move the needle by just like a tick. And as he was unfolding his story, his experiences, and sharing that with me, the the common theme that I was pulling apart as he was speaking was that he felt very stuck. He felt very stuck, as in he basically was living in his hole. And so, what I mean by that is every single person on earth has a deck of sad stories that has been following them their whole life. That's just one thing after another. We all have some type of sad story experience that if we were to tell somebody, it's yeah. And so when I'm trying to help somebody out and try to help somebody problem solve, and I try to look at it as if like I this is my craft, right? And we're just, or like this is like a math problem, right? And so I am just trying to solve the problem, trying to get a result. And the complexity of the problem, it could be just a more simple problem, like a addition subtraction problem, or it can be more complex, where it's more of like a calculus or trigonometry question where the math problem is much more complex. It's longer, a lot more variables are inside it, but the constant is just an order operation and you're still trying to get a result. No matter how complex it is, there is a solution. And it doesn't matter if it's a solution you want, it's a solution to the problem that you are working through. And as I was speaking to him, the common theme is that all these things can't work because of his age, because of his limitations, because of this, because of that. And throughout the different answers he was giving me, the responses, it always came back to him essentially living in this hole of nothing is going to work and just feeling sorry for yourself. And when it comes to working with clients and just trying to better yourself and health, behavior, skills, personal, professional development, all the things, it's that we are all dealt with different cards. We all have some form of privilege in one avenue or another, and some are started the game with a better deck of cards or compared to the others. And that's just the reality of it. You can see it from every angle, depending on what the thing is. You can make anything a privilege, or you can make anything be a curse. Like you does there's so many angles where you can go around it. And so if that's the case, then it's like you can be in this perpetual chasing your tail of this feel sorry for myself purgatory hole, or just take it as fact and being like, okay, this is what the math problem is, these are the variables that's known, and now let's see what's the first step. What can we control, and how can we start going through the list of order of operations to start solving this problem? It may take a while, it may take some effort, but at least we just need a starting point, something to do. And that's something that I have noticed from people, is that some people do see the world through that lens of that no, things cannot get better, and they are so limited by their belief, and others are have been thrown just the same amount of hardships and adversities, or even more, or less, and they can still look at it through a different frame and be able to it influences their actions more in a positive and favorable way. And so anything can look bad. You can frame anything to where your situation's awful. You have the world's saddest story, all these things in front of you, but it really comes back to what's going on in your head and your belief system, and like what do you actually believe in the story that you're telling yourself and how you are seeing the world. And you really do have to change all of that and challenge all of those for you to do something about it. And the one concept phrase, it's very simplified, but I think it stands very true, is that there is somebody who's had it worse than you and have made it further than you. And if that's true, because there are those stories out there where people have crossed the seas, new country, had no money, no connections, no anything, and built up a respectable business for themselves, a life for themselves, or even a multi-million-dollar business for themselves. And some some of those stories are like people were at a huge disadvantages, and if they can do it, you can do it. And there's stories like that. There's stories from people from the bottom up, and it's yes, those stories maybe some of them are rarer than others, and some people may come at it at the angle of like, oh, this person had this help here, this person had this, they lived in this time, it was just the right market season, all this and that, and just really complaining and bitching about all that stuff. And then it's like, what are you doing? Like, you can do something about it. You can, it doesn't serve you well at all to look at it through that lens like that. And so it's like, okay, so we can do something about this. And so that's just something that I try to remind myself and try to encourage others, is that no matter how bad your situation is, no matter how hopeless you feel, if you can change the way you frame it and the way that you see the situation and look forward, it's like, okay, if we just look at this as objectively as possible, being like, okay, if I was looking from the outside in, outside the glass in, it's like, okay, what's the first thing that I can do? Okay, maybe it's like, say you have some type of limitation, something happened. What's the one thing I can do? Oh, I can work on my mindset. Cool. I can work on just improving one area of my life. Let me just make my bed. Oh, maybe I can just work on eating more fruits and veggies. Okay, maybe the next thing is maybe I can just work on improving one relationship at a time. Let me just talk to this one person and try to listen a little more that and before speaking. It's like there you can break it down if you really put the effort and time into just looking at it from as many perspectives as possible outside of your own, and then you kind of it really illuminates what actions you can take to move forward. And you can apply this principle to very much like a health behavior change, exercise, nutrition, personal, professional development, many different ways. And looking at through this lens is very helpful, very crucial, and vital for long term success in anything, because you're always going to be met with challenges, adversities, and if you always get stalled at whenever things get hard, then you are not going to make it very far. And just sitting there, just feeling sorry for yourself is not going to do you any good, because no one's going to care. No one is thinking about you as much as you are thinking about yourself. And so if that's the statement, and I find that true because I spend my day thinking about myself more than anybody else. I just think about how some others are perceiving me in some way, or how I might do things and how others might perceive it, and that's one another form of that stuff. For it, it's not saying it's true for everybody, but generally most people worry too much about themselves, and you aren't really thinking about much people around you, because we're all in our own small worlds and just trying to navigate it and do the best we can. And so with that, it's like sitting there thinking that everything's hopeless does not work. And so at some point you just have to just stop the complaining, stop the feeling sad for yourself. Of course, you have to feel your feelings. You have to feel them to the full capacity and all that and stuff. And everything is valid, and not saying that none of that matters, and or none of it like it all matters. But at some point you have to make a decision, being like, this is just the way it is. This is what happened. This is how things unfolded. Many of this I had no control over. Maybe some of it I did. Maybe some of it's my fault or wasn't my fault. Regardless, I'm just going to embrace the history that was my past now, all that happened, and look forward, being like, okay, what can I do next? What's the next logical, actionable, tangible step that I can take? Maybe where I want to get to takes 10 years. Maybe you have to spend time digging before you can start building. And you just got it. If that's what you got, that's what you got. And that's all we can do at the end of the day, is focus on what we can control and work with what we got until we have more. Not wishing that we have more, it's working with what you got until you're thrown a bone and the chips start falling in your favor. So, just a thought I've been thinking about since, well, yesterday. It was yesterday. Cool. Well, that's a good one. Awesome. Awesome, guys. Thank you for listening. I love that I'm able to share my thoughts like this out into the world, and that someone's listening now and for in the future for this. Hope this finds you well. Thank you for listening this far, and I hope this just helped you, gave you some inspiration, gave you just another perspective to look at, as that is. Like I'll just be honest, it is something that I do pride myself in, is my empathy, specifically in my like intentional action of trying to look at things through as many perspectives as I can, for any situation and context, just because it's very easy to look through just the keyhole of what you have lived through, and nobody has else lives through the same life that you do. And so trying to look through as many other people's perspectives as possible, because it helps give you an idea to how other people are feeling, living, and you can have a level of like expectation and assumption of what others might be experiencing or have experienced, and that helps you not reduce them and be able to give them more grace and compassion, as most of us are all just trying our best, and feeling seen and heard and even just respected or anything along those lines does go a long way. And that way, making the world a better place by making your little world a better place first, helps ripple into everything. Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you for listening this far. Much love, and I will see you in tomorrow's episode.